What's the best case of instant karma you've witnessed? This arsehole cut into my lane, forcing me to brake hard the other week. I honked and he turned around in his car, while still driving, to flip me off. He didn't see the car in front of him stopping at a red light and crashed into the car in front of him. I had a lot of fun telling the police what had happened. I was at a touristy place at the top of a big cliff. People were hanging around at the top, just enjoying the view. This one guy was eating a sandwich while staring at his phone. After he was done, he couldn't be bothered to find a trash can, so he went to throw the sandwich wrappings off the cliff. But he got his hands confused and hurled his phone off the cliff instead. A person tried to shove past me in the hallway. Immediately after, a door opened up into the hallway and slammed him in the face. Two of my friends and I were playing Monopoly sometime around freshman year of high school. One of my friends owned all the railroads, meaning any player who landed on a railroad would pay him 200. The entire game felt like I was just moving my token from railroad to railroad, paying my friend each time, having no opportunity to buy properties, and getting super frustrated. In reality it was probably only 2 or 3 times. On my next roll, I quickly calculate which space I was going to land on as I start to move my token. And lo and behold, I was going to land on another F-King railroad. I gracefully slide, cheat, past the railroad and plop my piece on the next space. Chance card read something as follows. Move token to nearest railroad. Pay owner twice the amount. I lost my shti. Pedestrian crossing the street. Everyone stops for him except one guy in the last lane blasts his horn and blows through the intersection, nearly running the pedestrian over. There was an unmarked police car right behind him that immediately pulled him over. Was walking down the street and a Porsche gunned it to make a left turn in front of me at the entrance of a gas station. He missed hitting me by about a foot. He cut it too close and hit the curb and tore his front bumper off. Was working at a trampoline park which had 2 different dodgeball areas. One for kids 12 and under, another for 13 and up. Annoying little shitty of a kid kept trying to sneak into the 13 and up game, running around, breaking rules, and basically being a pain. We couldn't really do much about it. Eventually I just let him sneak on, and not a moment later he got smacked beautifully in the face with a rubber ball. Actually sent him flying back a couple feet. He wasn't so keen to play after that. A lifted pickup truck with one of those train horns was driving aggressively through morning work traffic and honking at people who got in his way. He did it to an unmarked sheriff, or trooper, some kind of law enforcement, and promptly got his ass pulled over. I just walked into a crowded bar with my friend back when we were in our early 20s. Make our way around the entrance handrails and bam, this dude smashes his shoulder into mine, knocking me back. Thinking it was just an accident caused by a crowded bar, I start to recover and this dude throws his shoulder into me again. Before I can even begin to react to the second more aggressive hit, this monstrosity of a bouncer, watching the whole things go down, picks the guy up and literally throws him out the exit doors. It all happened in a matter of 5 seconds. I don't think any other person in that bar, nor my friend, even saw it go down. My older sister and I didn't get along well growing up. One day we were both on a city bus on our way home. As we approached our stop, I got up and moved toward the door. As it opened, my sister aggressively shoved past me to get off first. The second she stepped off, she was nailed full on by seagull poop. This was over 50 years ago and it still makes me smile. During my lunch break at work a few years ago, I ran over to this convenience store that sold a few deli items and also had a lunch of the day special. That day it was spaghetti. I walked into the store and headed to the back to the coolers to grab a drink, and I start walking over to the line that was formed to grab a lunch. This older woman, who was talking to a woman not even close to the line, saw me walking and literally strong-armed me to get in front of me. She full on shoulder checked me. The cashier saw it. looked at me and I just shook my head as if to not call her out on it. She gets 2 orders of spaghetti. They come in a styrofoam compartment tray. She walked towards the door and someone comes in that she knows, so she's saying hi. I pay for my food and I'm out the door. As I'm walking to my truck, I hear a loud ooh off. I turn around and this woman is planked on the ground with spaghetti and meat sauce all over her white shirt. In high school, a guy cut in front of me and said, "Out of my way." Dude I worked with, pizza delivery, hit my bumper and scratched in the parking lot. A customer called him out on it. He denied it and went on his delivery. On that delivery he was T-boned and his car was totaled. Had he come into the store to tell me and apologize, I would have forgiven it. Instead he had to pay $500 for a new bumper paint job and lost his car. Driving in the slow lane. Guy rushes up to my bumper and starts tailgating me. Honked his horn and flashed his lights. When I didn't move he went around me. Once he passed my car. So did a state trooper with his lights on. Another time, when driving to work, car starts tailgating me, but doing the speed up slow down thing. I look in my rear view mirror and see a girl in the passenger seat yell at him. The car speeds up to my bumper one more time. I look in my rear view getting ready to flip him off. Then I see the girl absolutely bitch slap the guy driving. He backed off and stopped tailgating me. Playing a beer league slow pitch softball game once. The backstop of this field was a big chain link fence half dome that extended out over home plate. The batter was mouthing off about how he was gonna hit middle on purpose, hit the ball back at our pitcher trying to injure him, because he was mad that our team was steamrolling his. He proceeds to pop the first pitch straight up. The ball hits a metal pole on that half dome, comes straight back down and cracks him in the top on his head. Hard. He falls to the ground. Pops back up. Walked back to the dugout. Puts all his stuff away and left for the parking lot. We think he went and cried in his car. Edit. A week ago my husband was on a work trip and he got a free upgrade to first class. He got on the plane and sat down in 3A. A few minutes later a woman boards and tells him in a bitchy tone, "Excuse me. You're in my seat." He takes out his ticket and shows it to her politely. She also has a ticket for 3A. She insists he needs to move because she paid for that seat and it's hers. A flight attendant gets involved and my husband says he'll move. He was very polite. So the flight attendant has him stand aside and says hopefully there will be another first class seat. They're about to close up the plane and the flight attendant welcomes them on their flight to Charlotte. And the women in 3A goes, "Oh shit. She got on the wrong flight. Idiot." My husband felt very smug watching her leave and enjoyed his 3A seat. I got punched in the face by my cousin. I was 14 at the time and he was 8. He yelled, "I am invincible," and held his fists up to assert dominance. And then he turned 180 into a wooden support post in our basement. He sat down covering his face and started crying and I was trying to maintain a concerned and worried look, but it was just funny as hell. Overheard an admin at work boasting that she could easily skew the numbers on the tills to make it appear as though so and so's the till was short. Now, I'm not a snitch, but I'm also not gonna let some kid get thrown under the bus cause of some bitch. The next day, I went to my boss to report it, but as I walk in, I see the admin nearly in tears, claiming the boss stabbed her in the back. I don't know what she got booted for, but everyone agrees she deserved it. Admin wasn't fired, just moved to a shitty department where she's visibly stressed and drowning in the workload. A better punishment, I think. A random guy was a total douche to me at a cafe. A few days later, I interviewed him for a job. I was driving on the freeway one day and needed to get over. I checked to make sure it was clear, signaled and changed lanes. I didn't realize there was an Escalade coming up behind at over 100 miles per hour in that lane. He was going so fast that the lane looked clear when I checked 1 second ago. Close bracket. The Escalade decided to teach me a lesson by acting like it wasn't going to stop and plow into me. There were now cars on both sides of me, so I couldn't swerve out of the way. So the Escalade screams up until last possible second and then hits the brakes hard so he matches my speed about a foot away from my bumper. While this is happening, I'm freaking out and wobbling the car cause I think I'm going to get creamed. The cop that was one lane over and 2 cars back immediately flipped on his lights and pulled them over. That was quite a roller coaster ride of emotions for me. I was stuck in the left lane passing 5 semi-trucks. One car was riding my tail the entire time. Honking. Flipping me off. Flashing their high beams. Doing everything in their power to make me move. As soon as I move, the other car zooms right past, flipping me off. 3 miles later the car was pulled over. In high school had a kid punch me for like no reason. I would have punched him back, but the principal and the resource officer had literally just walked around the corner and saw it. They walk up and ask the other kids, "Did the lightning count 1 provoke Bob here?" Kids shook their heads. "Did the lightning count 1 strike Bob before just now?" Kids shook their heads. Resource officer cuffed Bob and took him to the office. He was a multiple offender and this was the last straw. He was expelled and we never saw him again. A barman smashing in the face of a well-known local scrote who was verbally abusing a blind guy and his dog in a bar. Very sweet. To be fair, the barman got in first as I think there were 1 or 2 others in the place planning the same thing. I was waiting tables at a restaurant in Texas and these 3 obnoxious women were complaining about a free appetizer they'd gotten plus the drinks, etc. Just complaining on and on. I didn't bother discounting anything else for them because their complaints weren't really founded and they were rude. They stiffed me on the tip, hair, and, to add insult to injury, dumped what little was left in their drinks and salsa cups, chips, Quest, etc. all over the table. It was a pretty big mess. And would take several towels to soak up. Nice. I saw the mess and walked away. Only to see one of them come back in, rush over the table and pick up her phone. A phone she definitely did not have in a waterproof case. She wiped it on her pants so I know it got all wet. I didn't mind cleaning up after them so much after that. I just wish I had found the phone first. I would have made her pick it up to get it back. One time I smiled at someone walking by. Then I saw them smile at somebody, who then smiled at somebody else. Quite recently, we got our tests back in German. One of my classmates had studied only the night before, but gotten 1. 5/10. Classmate 2, nerdy type. Always starts studying 2 weeks in advance, just stood and laughed at him. Until he got his test back. He got a 1/10. I was driving from Chicago to Wisconsin one weekend. As soon as I got on the highway, a car to my left decides he needs my lane this instant and pushes me out of my lane onto the shoulder. He continues to zoom around and almost hit another 10 cars or so just to get right back where he started. It was rush hour. We're all slowly going along the highway when I hear this boom. Turns out the arsehole car busted a tire trying to drive along the shoulder of the road to pass another car. A couple of other cars and I stop not to ask if he needs help but to wait for the cop that was a couple miles back that saw the whole thing. We each gave our testimonies and the arsehole was taken away in the cop car for reckless driving and some other charges. My friend was giving me a ride home. And while we were sitting at a red light, a motorcyclist starts zipping between the lanes to get to the front, almost causing an accident in the turning lane and almost taking off my friend's mirror. The car in front of us turned out to be an undercover cop car. And when we started driving again, we immediately saw the motorcyclist pulled over. Under the overpass. Edit. Long stretch of highway at night. I had actually gotten a ticket for speeding there a couple months prior. It's a notorious speeding trap. Well, on this night, it was down to a single lane because of construction. Also means the speeding fines are increased. So it says 45 miles per hour and that's what I'm doing. At some point a big truck catches up to me and starts tailgating. Honks a few times. Flashes his brights a few times. But I don't budge from the speed limit because, hey, I'm actually doing him a favor. So he never stops tailgating me for the rest of the one lane experience. But eventually the other lane opens up. And as soon as it does, big ol' truck MCFCK absolutely zooms around me, getting to at least 60 before he's even fully past me. There was a cop sitting at that exact location and he got pulled over immediately. When I was a little kid, I went to the local hangout they specially build for kids and teenagers. I went to the scatter park. Some 12-year-old kid came up to me and immediately started calling me names and pushing me around. I was like 7 or something. 3 older boys came running towards us and one of them slapped the bully right in his face. We don't bully small kids here. I passed a slow car on a back road who was going too slow. This lady then proceeded to ride my ass all the way to my house. Cuts me off at the last second, which caused me to hit her. Called the cops, all the while this crazy is in my face talking about beating me up. When the cop shows up, he confirms there's no damage to her car. He takes our licenses and when he hands mine back he tells me she has a warrant for her arrest. I waved at her as she got arrested, lol. One time I went to a museum showroom and me and my mother went to go get food. I went to grab and reserve a table. So I sat down while my mom went to go get some food. Then this one guy comes and starts trying to take the other chair at table. So I tell him that there's someone sitting there. But he doesn't listen and takes it away anyway. At the time I was still too little to really do anything about it. So I go and grab a chair from an unoccupied table. Then I see the guy sit down in the chair with his food. When the guy sat down, the chair broke from under him, making him fall on his back, also spilling his food over himself. A story I learned about recently. When I was still in architecture school, a professor gave his class an exercise. One student came up with a project with a lot of ramps for disabled people. The professor started laughing and asked her to remove them because no one will use them. A month after or so, he lost his leg. Sitting in an office building's lobby, watched a guy get into an argument with another, then proceed to walk directly into a glass window. Was working, driving in the most right lane on our way to pick up a patient, when a brand new Callaway 757 Corvette comes flying behind us. Apparently we weren't going fast enough, so the guy swerves around us, has the top down wearing a fedora, then swerves back into the right lane and decided in the last minute he wants some Popeyes and attempts to turn into the parking lot. I think he watched too much Tokyo Drift and thought he could handle. But the wheels locked and he went straight for some big ass boulder and a wall, completely wrecking this amazing car. There was a cop right at the Popeyes, saw the whole thing. The best part is the car had paper plates from that same day. So it's winter and everything is covered in snow. I'm going home from a friend's place and I see my shoelaces untied. I grab a nearby tree so I can maintain my balance while I put the shoelace inside my shoe, and immediately after grabbing a tree a ton of snow falls on my head. A woman that was walking behind me starts laughing at me, and right after she walks by me she slipped on the ice and fell down. I had a good laugh of revenge. My dad tried to fart on me, and he shit himself. I was driving down a remote highway road out in Buck Nowhere, Iowa. The road is known for extremely limited vehicle traffic, but a lot of deer. I was going right at the speed limit, extra aware for the deer risk, when a pickup came up right behind me and started tailgating. It was a no-pass area with lots of hills, so the other driver was smart enough not to force his way past me. But he was definitely angry, inching closer and closer to me. That's when I saw the deer walk into the road about 100 yards ahead of me. I had enough warning to ease my speed down so I didn't hit the thing. That caused the tailgating driver to flip his lid. He served, honked, and flipped me off as he passed me. Then he hit the deer full on. Deer went flying. His pickup was totaled. I did the right thing by calling 911 and sticking around to make sure the rescue services made it to help him out. The guy never looked at me once during our entire wait.